Welcome to Nifty 50 Photographers, and in today's video we're going to talk about the new masking tools in Lightroom Classic. Now, I've been using Lightroom for about 10 years and these tools are some of the best I've ever seen. They'll really speed up your workflow and help you to get better photos. Now, if you're new here, I'm Richard Gill. I'm a professional photographer, and on this channel I give tips and tricks on how to take better photos and how to do things like use Lightroom. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then please subscribe to the channel. So let's get straight away to Lightroom and let's show you what these tools can do. So I've got three photos I'm going to work on, a landscape, a portrait and a food shot, to give you an example of something that might be a close-up or a macro shot. And I'm going to start with a landscape shot, and let's see what the new masking tools can do to help us develop that. So I've got this nice sunset scene on a beach, and these are now where the masking tools are situated, just above the just beneath, sorry, the histogram. So if you click on one of those, it opens up a new window, and straight away these are the old tools we were familiar with: brush, gradient and radial gradient. The two range masks have their own buttons now, one for color range and one for luminance. There's another one for depth, but we don't need to worry about depth range today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to change the sky a little bit. This is a raw photo. I know there was a lot more color in it, so I'm going to use this AI tool now of select the sky, and the software does its thing, and it does a fairly good job. And it shows a mask overlay in red. You can change the color of that if you want, just by clicking on that icon. I'm quite happy with the red, but I'll just show you what it's like if you put on the green. So we'll go back to red, and one of the things actually, when I click on the green, I can see actually it's picked up this little island in the background, and it's picking up a few of these rocks in the foreground. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to remove those. And underneath your main mask you have this add and subtract button, and they do pretty much what they say on the tin. So I want to subtract a bit, so I'm going to pick subtract, and I'm going to use a brush to do that because of the shape of what I'm trying to remove. So I click the brush, and now I can paint over the areas I want to remove, and just make sure you've got your settings as you want them. I'm reasonably happy with the brush size, so I'm going to paint over these areas where the sky mask has overlapped. So I'm painting out these rocks. I don't need to be too precise about this, and I think that's pretty much got what I wanted. I'm just going to change this mask overlay color back to red, see if that helps me see I've got everything. Now I can go back and I can work on my sky, and so I want to bring some more color into it, and automatically, as soon as you start changing one of the sliders, the mask overlay disappears, so you can really see what's happening exactly on your photo. And so I'm bringing in a bit more yellow and a bit more magenta in there. I might reduce the exposure just a little bit. I'll probably add a bit of dehaze to it just to bring it, take the clarity down. Reduce the highlights as well. I think I've got a bit too much colour in there. Pare that back a little bit, and I'm going to perhaps just saturate it a tiny bit more. So now I'm reasonably happy with my sky. So I'm going to click done, and now I'm going to work on my foreground. And you can do exactly the same thing. Now, to select all the foreground, it's very straightforward. I go back to my mask and do create a new mask. This time I'm going to select the sky again. Now, if you remember, it picked up some of the land, so I'm going to do that same subtraction and use a brush and just subtract away the hills again. Okay, now I'm happy with that. And now what I'm going to do is invert, and so you can see now that it's selected all this foreground, and I can see I want to add a few bits back in actually, so I'm going to do that with the brush and add those back in. Okay, I'm doing this very roughly and quickly, and I'm happy now with that. So now I can now actually work on my foreground. So I want to just take the highlights down just a very slight amount, but I want to boost my shadows here, bring up the detail in there. I want to play with my whites and blacks, so I want to bring my whites up a bit, and take my blacks down just a tiny bit, and a little bit more contrast, a little bit more exposure. So that's how you would use those kind of masks. And of course you can do the same sort of thing. So if I want to bring up do some little bits of dodging and burning, so let's go to create a new mask. I'll choose the brush. I'll now set all my sliders up as I want them. So I'm going to just do a little boost of exposure, a little boost of clarity. I'm going to do some little bits of painting on this water just to bring in some of the lighter areas. And of course, if you're not happy with that, you can go back to this brush at any time, and you can just delete the brush altogether, and it'll take out all the things you've just added in. So that's how you can work on a landscape photo. So let's work on a portrait photo. So I've got this portrait shot of a model here, and the first thing I'm going to do is select the subject, and the AI really does a great job of that. You can see it's perfectly picked up the subject here. I'm going to turn this, I'm going to play around with black and white to do something creative. So let's just take out the saturation. Let's turn the model into a monochrome image. I might just play around with the blacks just to give it a bit more contrast. And okay, now I'm happy with that. So okay, so now I want to work on the background, but I want to get a linear gradient because I'm going to split this into two tones, and you'll see what I mean as I go along. So I'm actually going to create a new mask above that and select linear gradient. I'm going to hold down my shift key because I want it to be perfectly vertical, and bring that pretty much into the center of the model's face. I want this to be a very nice tight with hardly any feather to it. So something around there, and I'm going to make half the photo black, and if I slide that down, take out any shadows, take the blacks down, you can see it's now black, but the problem is it's picked up half my model. So I'm going to now say intersect the mask with select subject, and see how it's picked up half the subject. Now it's actually, I want it to do the opposite of that. So if I take the invert off, now I've got just what I wanted, a black background over half the photo. And I'm going to bring up the other side and make that white. Sorry, linear gradient. We'll do that. We'll bring that into the same place. I should have held down my shift key as I introduced it, but you can see what I'm trying to do there. And this time I'm going to boost the exposure of it. Before I do that, actually, I'm going to get it to intersect with the model, because if I do it afterwards, it perhaps won't find the model shape. So let's intersect the mask with the subject. Now that it's done that, I can bring up the exposure. I can now take off the invert and slide up my exposure. So I've got a white half, and I've split my photo into black and white. I might just go to the crop tool, just bring that bit in a bit, maybe bring it in left and right, so I've got what I want. And there I've got a completely different photo from what I set up using the mask, and it's really done a great job picking up the outlines. So let's do one more example. This is a food shot, and what I really want to do is I want the dish to be much more about the food. The depth of focus here, I should have had a shallower depth of focus to make that this matte in the background disappear a bit more. So we'll do that with a radial mask. And let's see what happens if we try select the subject. And it's done a really fabulous job straight away. It's picked up this dish and this lovely little dessert. And actually I want to invert that because I just want to work on the background, and what I want to do is take out all the clarity, I want to take out all the sharpness, and I'm going to reduce the exposure, and boom, I've got just what I wanted. You know, click done, and there's a perfect example of how to just touch up your photos really quickly without playing around, getting everything just right. I'm really pleased with the AI. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do give it a thumbs up, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time in the next video. Thanks for watching.